Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today I'm playing giveaway chess, or anti-chess, where players lose all of their pieces to win and capturing is compulsory. My goal is to win 5 games. Let's get started with game number 1. Behold, easily my worst chess variant. It's actually, I think, the only variant that I'm under 1500 in. We get G3. Let's just play a really passive move. 1500 being an important number, because that's where chess.com starts everybody when you play a variant for the first time. So if you're under 1500, that means you're on average a weaker player. We get B3. I'm not really sure how to go about forcing my opponent to capture anything, so I'm just going to make some waiting moves. Bishop to A3. This is maybe a good thing. Let's go ahead and start with C5, force that capture. Okay, opponent has to take. The concern now is that my opponent will take on E7, and I will be forced to recapture with one of my pieces. I only lose 2 pawns, and my opponent loses a whole piece, which is good for my opponent since you're trying to lose as many pieces as possible. I also don't want to develop any of my pieces if I can avoid it. Let's try D6. Obviously, our opponent has to take. We will take back with the pawn, and we actually won't develop any of our pieces in that process. Okay, let's take back. The queen does have some vision now to H4, so that could be an issue, but luckily if we take, our opponent has to take back, and then we lose a whole queen, which is, again, good for us. We get pawn to D4. Let's play queen to... Well, is queen to E7 worth it? Queen to E7, E4, I have to take. And then my opponent can play anything. There's really no such thing as check in this variant. Let's play bishop to H3. Nice, we force that capture. Queen to C8, force that capture as well. And this is what we want. We want to start stringing together forced captures. Okay, we get that capture. Now, F5 forces our opponent to take. Oh, I forgot B7 was an option as well. Okay, but that forces our opponent to take on A8 next. So that's actually totally fine. The only thing is now my opponent could take on A6 and I would have to recapture. So I'm going to move this pawn out of the way, force my opponent to take on A8. Nice, we get knight to C6, forces the opponent to take the knight. Okay, we get that capture. Now, obviously this is forced next. So I'm trying to think how else could I give away even more material. I think this makes sense. We'll play knight to E7, forces the opponent to capture the king, and then we can play knight to G6. Gives away a little bit of extra material. Right, now our opponent's next move will be force taking the pawn. Let's play rook to H7 because that can't hurt. If the opponent takes the pawn, then the next move is taking the rook anyways. Nice, we do get that capture. Let's play G6, force our opponent to take. And now we can pretty much play anything, I believe. Oh, we get the resignation. Nice. Hey, we're over 1500 by 5 points, but hey, I'll take it. With that, we win game number 1. Let's move on to game number 2. All right, oh, you've got to be kidding me. 2000 rated opponent. Game number 2, we get the white pieces. Let's play something nice and passive. E6. Okay, my opponent wants to take here, so I have to take back. I guess I really have no choice but to allow that. Wow, I thought that was the most passive move possible. Okay, let's play B4. And then if my opponent takes, I take back, and I'm actually threatening rook takes, where I lose a whole rook and I only win a pawn, which I think is good for me. Okay, we do get that capture. Let's take back. Now, our threat is taking on A7. C5, I'll ignore it and take on A7. If our opponent takes the pawn, we take on B7 and we lose the rook anyways. Okay, nice. We lose the rook. We have to take this pawn, however. Oh, rook to A3 is clever. I'll take it with the knight to try to avoid having to take any other pieces. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. Queen to B6. I have no choice but to take. And that should be the end of the road as far as captures go, but... Okay, now our opponent's preparing king to C7. This feels like it's already dead lost, but let's see if we can make something out of it. Let's play E3 with the idea of bishop to A6. Obviously, I have to take the king, and I'm willing to bet our opponent will force us to take the knight as well. Okay, B5. I actually have the choice now of what I want to take. I guess there's really no better option, so let's just take on the back rank, promote to a knight to see if we can get this capture. But our opponent forces us to take. Actually, wait, I can take here on B5, and then our opponent has to take back. I'm going to take with the bishop since it's the stronger piece. Opponent has to take back, and then I take with my knight. Okay, we're definitely worse, but maybe I can scrounge up a victory somehow. E5 forces me to take on D7, then knight to E7. Okay, let's play. Oh, I have to take on E5. Wow. And then I have to take on F7. I have to take on H8. And I'm sure my opponent can string together some kind of force capturing sequence at that point. Okay, I have to take on F7. H4 means I have to take on H8. Surely knight to G6, where I have to take as well. And then H3, I believe stalemate is also a win for my opponent, so I take. and our opponent wins the game. Okay, with that, we lose game number 2. I won't be too harsh on myself. That was a 2000 rated player in this specific variant that I am not very good at, but I still think we had a decent game. Let's go ahead and move on to game number 3. All right, we get the white pieces again. Did not go very well the first time. Let's move this pawn now. The reason I'm playing it again is because maybe I'll have better luck on the king side. Okay, knight to h6. If I play d3, I'm threatening to capture, and it would actually be a fair trade, so that might be totally fine. And then there's ideas of like g5, I take. Should be okay, let's play d3. Oh, of course. Okay, we have to take the knight, and surely we get into trouble here again. h5. If I take, my opponent has to take back, I have to take back, and then g6 actually isn't an issue, so this might be okay. Sure. We're only up a piece. Okay, g5. It looks like I have to take with the bishop, but I can also take en passant, force the recapture, drop the bishop, drop the queen. Nice. We're on a roll here. This is okay. This is good. Nice. Forcing this capture next. So how do I set this up properly? Let's start with knight to f3. Forces this capture. Nice. Now, let's play knight to c3. We want to offer, well, do we want that? No, let's play knight to d4. Oh, that's not good either. Okay, let's make a waiting move with the king to force this capture. Nice. Now, knight to c3, force the recapture. Knight to d4, drop another piece. Okay, and this is forced on the next turn. So, let's play g3 to force this capture and then taking on g3. Nice. Now, how do we continue this? Let's go a4, because I need to lose this pawn at some point, and pushing it is probably the easiest way. We'll drop the king next, drop the pawn, and then I assume dropping both of these pawns is worth more to me than just dropping this single pawn. So d4 instead, and we do get the resignation. Nice. With that, we win game number 3, which is our second victory. Let's go ahead and move on to game number 4. Game number 4 against the same opponent with the same rating, with the same color pieces actually. Let's play, I think d3 was an interesting idea, so let's play d3. Okay, g5, we'll go ahead and take. And then there's the idea of dropping the bishop, where the, oh, I was gonna say where the opponent has to take back, but I guess I have to take the queen now. It feels like I've just walked into opening prep. Almost 100%, I definitely did just walk into opening prep. Okay, bishop here forces me to take. And then d5, I'll take on b8, opponent has to recapture. Right. Oh, and then I have to take on d5 as well. Ooh, this is nasty. This is already pretty bad. Knight to f6, sure, I'll take. Never mind, we're sticking with that h3 opening next. I don't know why I switched. It worked out just fine for us the first time. h5 forces... Actually, it doesn't force anything, but I'll take the pawn forcing the recapture. h4, take my pawn. Okay, how do I go about this now? Let's try f4, but almost certainly our opponent will take on h2. Sure. And we have a lot of pieces that we need to give away now. Okay, looking for this. I'm going to go ahead and lean into it, allow my opponent to capture. I mean, I say allow like I have a choice. And then maybe I can get my opponent to take my pieces with these 3 pawns, but honestly, it's a long shot. That's a tough call. Let's play rook to g2 with the idea of rook g6. Opponent moves the pawn forward. Let's, well, if I stop it in its tracks, then there's king to e6. Okay, let's try knight to e5, forcing this exchange. At least we drop a little bit of material. Oh, there's king d6. Okay, I forgot the kings don't work like normal kings in this variant. Okay, let's launch our own king into a problematic world. b5, a4 forces the capture. Sure. King to c3. Forces a3. King b4 takes, c3 takes. How do I lose more material? Rook to b2? That could work. That might be a feasible line of reasoning. c3. Rook to b2. Nice. And now queen to a1. Forces our opponent to take. Opponent considering very cautiously what to promote to a rook. That doesn't seem to make a lot of sense because now our opponent has to take. Okay, let's push our own pawn. Right. Now what do we want to promote to? I guess it doesn't really matter. Whatever we promote to, our opponent can put it in danger on the next turn. So if it doesn't matter, then let's just promote to a queen. So we have the best shot of actually giving it away. Oh, wait a minute. That loses the game instantly. Oh, wait, no, it doesn't. I take, and then my opponent pushes the pawn. Okay, so I have to take here. A2. Where do I move this queen? So wherever my opponent promotes, I can lose it. I guess f2 does the trick. So let's play queen to f2. We get a rook promotion, which means we can drop the queen right now, and we probably should. Question is where? Oh, I guess it doesn't matter, does it? Wherever I drop the queen, my opponent can take. I push the pawn, and then my opponent can just line up the rook next to the pawn. I push the pawn again, and then my opponent drops the rook. Interesting. Wow, if only I could drop the queen on d1. We were so close. Okay, let's try queen to g1. See if our opponent figures out the winning strategy. Let's push. And our opponent immediately understands the idea. And with that, we lose game number 4. Tough game. Let's go ahead and move on to game number 5. All right, we have 2 victories under our belt. Finally, somebody rated closer to our rating. Let's see how this plays out. Okay, d3. What did our opponent play? This? We walked into our opponent's prep, so let's try to just play. Let's play exactly what our opponent played against us. That forces this capture. Nice, and then we take on b2. Force our opponent to take our queen. And then, what did our opponent play? Did our opponent take back? No, because then you'd have to take the rook. If you take the rook now, then the bishop takes, and then bishop c3. Okay, yeah, that was the prep. Nice, now you play check, drop the bishop. Let's play it a little bit differently than our opponent did now. d6 to drop the pawn. But actually, our opponent could have taken there on b8 and forced to recapture. Let's play bishop h3, drop the bishop. Now, we get the resignation, sweet. All right, with that, we win game number 5, our 3rd victory. Let's move on to game number 6. With our new opening theory, nice. White to play h3, never playing d3 again. That turned out horrible for us the first time. Let me know down below what opening you guys play for giveaway chess. I'd be genuinely curious to know. We get e6, threatening this. So let's play b4, drop the pawn. Okay, our opponent takes. And I think we can do the same thing. Bishop b2. I don't know if it works out exactly the same because we only lose the king, but it might be very similar, right? We take on g7, then we take the rook. Our opponent has to take on f2. We drop... Wait, why can't we drop the bishop? Is there a legal capture here that I'm totally missing? Oh, I can take on d7. Oh, actually, that's pretty good. Oh, thank goodness it forced me to play that. That's a great way to lose a queen. Okay, our opponent takes. Let's just... I guess I should take a weaker piece. Because our opponent is all out of captures after this. So let's just take on f7, force the king to take. Nice, we drop... Wait, where's the capture now? What am I missing this time? Oh, I have to take the bishop, that's what it is. But I'm so down on material that this should be winning anyways. Okay, queen to f6 forces me to take, but the opponent has to take back. Sure. I still have to be careful. Let's play e3 to try to drop the bishop. c6, nice, we drop the bishop. Now, rook to d1, try to drop the rook. If our opponent places a piece in the way, then we can just exchange, and then we still lose the exchange anyways. Nice, we take, our opponent has to take back. And now let's play this carefully. Knight to a3, looking for knight to b5. I don't think our opponent has a way to stop that. Nice, knight to b5, drops the knight. Pawn takes, shuffle the rook over. If b4, we take the free pawn, and there's a bunch of different ways to get rid of the rook after. Nice, we'll take. Rook to b8, sure, forces a trade. And now we just have to get rid of all these pawns. Let's start with a4 with the idea of quote-unquote stalemating the single pawn, and maybe we can do something with the others as well. So let's stalemate this pawn. The issue is I have no choice but to move my pawns forward, which might come in handy for my opponent. Okay, knight to c6 actually forces my opponent to take, so that can't have possibly been the best move. Let's see, g4 takes, c4 takes, h4 takes, h5 takes, h6 wins the game. Okay, cool, g4, c4, nice, keep pushing. Perfect timing. I mean, that pawn structure, I could not have asked for a better pawn structure. h6 wins us game number 6. That's our 4th victory. Honestly, we won that very much in style. Let's go ahead and move on to game number 7. All right, game number 7, we get the black pieces. Hey, we're finally 1530. That's not half bad, not terrible. At least says that we've trudged around a little bit. Okay, wait, e4. Maybe our opponent is new. f5 forces this capture. Okay, our opponent takes. How do I actually take advantage of this, though? Maybe e6, trade, and then try to drop the queen. That might work out. a4. Okay, let's drop the queen. King takes, b5 drops the pawn. And then we should be able to drop the king and the rook, and so on and so forth. So knight to c6 forces the capture, bishop b7 again. Ooh, rook takes. Oh, and then I have to take back as well, because I have no other recaptures. Okay, let's take with the rook to leave that on the board. And now, let's play rook to a3. No, hold on a second. I need to drop this rook, but if I play rook to a3, there's this. Oh, but then I can drop the bishop right behind it. Never mind, that's a good thing. Rook to a3. Let's take, force the recapture. Nice, bishop b7 drops the bishop, and then I just have a couple last pieces to get rid of here, which I'll have to be a little bit strategic about. Let's move the king over to threaten king to c8. Bishop to b2. It was a little confusing, seems to force my opponent to take these two pieces, so let's drop the king first. Okay, we drop the pawn. Oh, and then I actually have to take this pawn. Okay, I may have miscalculated that. Okay, let's drop the knight, drop this pawn, move the king out of the way to force this capture without having a recapture. Let's drop the king, and now we just push this little guy forward. Loses it to the queen, and with that, let's wait for our opponent to take. With that, we win game number 7. That is our 5th victory. Honestly, I feel a little bit better about this variant. I don't feel like I played as terribly this time. I definitely played fewer games. If you guys did enjoy this video, please consider liking and subscribing. Let me know down below what you guys think of giveaway chess. If you guys have any openings or any strategies you recommend, please leave them down below so I don't get tortured like this next time. And I will see you guys in the next one.